spelling. There's a million words, right, Catherine? So what are we to do? I had a sixth grader who would not write. Refused to write, says, I hate writing. Any kind of writing. Okay. So I'm tutoring him. I was working with him on reading. And so the tutor said, can you help him with this? I said, well, yeah, I can. So this is how it worked. And he went up 4 grade levels. First, keep in mind, couldn't write anything. Didn't try to write anything. So first I talked to him and said, listen, I know you hate to write. It's not your thing. What would you say if I could raise your spelling and writing 4 grade levels in 2 days? Would you be willing to do it? He said 4 grade levels. I said, at least, maybe 5 or 6. Would you be willing to do it? I said, yeah, sure I would. I said, now you got to trust me on this. This will definitely work. So I introduced him to dictation software. Now, he has an iPad. The problem with an iPad, you can't use the dictation and do Zoom at the same time. Okay. So what I had to do is this. What helps it make it work with a child is, first, you got to get them to talk in a normal voice. Okay, which he did. Second is, initially, I will have the child rehearse with me what they're going to write. So I said, let's do a little rehearsal of one of the books you just read, a little summary. So he gave me a little summary. He had to get out of the Zoom. He wrote it out on his iPad and then came back and showed me. And lo and behold, all his spelling was correct. Character, summer, reputation, night, correspond. He had some words in 8th grade spelling. I said, now look at your spelling. That's went up 4 years. Now, he gave me a copy of the latest we did today, but his other one he's going to send to me. But I can tell you what it was like. Went something like this. This is about an emperor who's kind of crazy, and he did things that were kind of nuts, but these things were just accepted because no one stands up for him because they might die, and that would be a bad thing if everyone was to die. And he decided to try and have people stay when he played, and he did play well, and it went on and on and on. No periods, all ands, but you know what I mean, right? Rambling. Okay. So he then showed it to me. I said, this is great. Look at your spelling. Isn't that wonderful? Now I said, now what we got to do is learn how to add period while you're dictating. So when you're dictating, when you're done with a sentence, he did know what a sentence was. I want you to say period. Okay, now this is a sharp cookie. I was telling Steve, I'm not used to somebody who has some linguistic gifts who can't use them. But he has some linguistic gifts that we tapped into. So anyway, I talked about it. Lo and behold, he wrote one, and sure enough, he put periods. Now, some of them were in the wrong place. So I just walked through a couple issues. And then that brought us to the second day, which is today. And so for today, I said, okay, now there's 2 things. We read Light in the Dark Ages, which was written at 7th grade. Remember, he's the one who started at 2nd. Light in the Dark Ages. We read it. And I hadn't given me a verbal summary of what it was. And I said, now I want you to go ahead and dictate that. I want you to say period at the end. And I don't want ands in there. No ands. Unless you're saying Bill and John, you're talking to, but no ands otherwise. And this is what he did. I haven't touched it since he did this. So hold on. Keep in mind, this is a kid who refused to write would not write, said he couldn't write. So he wrote this, and I haven't touched it on purpose. Can you see it, George? Yeah, okay. The main character in the story is John. He's a monk at a church. It's the Dark Ages and no one is safe because there are a bunch of criminals and bad guys lurking around. John doesn't want to be a farmer because then he'll have to fight the bad guys off. So he became a monk. Why is it so dangerous? Is because Rome has just fallen so many criminals can find easy prey in farmers who don't know much about fighting. I had sixth graders who don't write this well, nor spell that well. These were words, some words are sixth, seventh grade words, some are fourth, some are sight words, some are phonics. He went up, as far as I'm concerned, as a start of a sixth grade writer and speller. Now, since he's able to follow directions, the bottom of my lessons book, this is for some of you, if you've noticed, the sentence dictation at the bottom of my lesson book has a sequence of how to teach writing. It moves from simple to adjectives, to prep phrases, to compound sentences, to complex. And I'm going to follow that sequence. So our next meeting, I'm going to talk about adding an adjective or two, and then prep phrases for where and when and how. And we're going to start. Now, I'm not big on phrase and adjectives because people think you get description from adjectives, but description comes from your verbs. It comes from your action in your adverbs. That's where your real description comes. So we'll talk about an adjective or two, but I'm going to start getting them to add phrases, prep phrases that answer when and where. And like the main character's story is in John, he lives as John, and he lives in a monastery in France, something like that. Then I'm going to teach him how to use compound sentences. I'm just going to follow the sequence at the bottom of my notebook. But I want you to look at this. This kid literally before this could not, said he can't write and refused to write. And this is where we're at now. It's amazing. So we have to, even though we're literacy teachers and we're supposed to, many programs, we got to get this kid. It's impossible at a sixth grader to get his spelling up to snuff if he has not been learning spelling on a year-by-year basis, because every year kids are picking up 3,000 words, 3-4. It's impossible. But if they phonetically learn to spell and use the sight words they're used to getting some, they'll be able to write what adults have said, what's important. What adults have said is writing notes in an office or writing notes with my kids so I don't look foolish. I need to spell some words right if I'm writing a note to my kids. Writing checks. Those are the things that they found really important. And also filling out applications. Now, filling out applications, the child should already have one filled out before they go. That's a rule. So they just copy. Okay. Now, in teaching this, I had two students I taught last year this, and neither one of them wrote. But something you should know is kids with dyslexia, even though their phonology is low, their syntax and semantics and narration can be high. In other words, the phonology doesn't mean that and we're finding kids with dyslexia, narration is a gift. They can tell stories well. So I'm unlocking this kid's gift. By the way, this was a nice summary for this kid as well. So I'm going to make this kid a writer. And one of the kids I worked last year became a writer. He started writing a book. And again, we modeled our writing style off of Hatchet, where we were reading. And Hatchet uses a lot of semicolons, a lot of dashes, compound sentences, complex. So he became a pretty complex writer. But anyway, Kathleen, that's how I immediately get that kid functioning at grade level, immediately. Now, notice I moved step by step with this. And so first, when his writing looked terrible, but his spelling was correct, I focused. You already went up on 4 years in spelling. Now we're going to make the writing even better. And I complimented what he didn't write. I said, look at how much you wrote. But this is what he did today without any help.